Section 13.6, the first half. We're going to split this one in two because the last one was too long and crazy. All right. The law of cosines now is going to be used when you have two sides and an angle in between those two sides, or three sides. And so what that means is you don't have anywhere that you have an angle with the side opposite that angle known. All right, so you can't use the law of sines, which actually is easier than this one, but that's okay. We won't have to use this. Anyway, here we go. So you've got a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of a. So, and all of these are different but the same. So let me boil it down for you. So what you've got is you've got the three sides here. Remember, the lowercase letters are the sides. So one side squared plus the other two sides squared minus 2 times the two sides that are on this side. Sometimes you know them, sometimes you don't know, but you'll know at least one of them. And actually what's best is to have these two be the known. So the unknown is either going to be this or this. All right? So what you're going to have is you're going to have one side squared plus the sum of the other two sides squared. And then from that you're going to subtract 2 times the two sides that you know times the cosine of the angle, either the angle that you know or the angle opposite what you don't know. Okay? So let's do some and then we'll see. And the reason I have all of these is just so that you can see you can rearrange it, all right? But it all depends on what you know and what you don't know. But you want the unknown to be either here or here, okay? Either this angle or this side is going to be the easiest to solve. All right, so what we're going to do is this. You're going to have a problem that says solve the triangle ABC. And I'll have to give you something to go by. And if I give you all three sides or two sides and the angle in between that, then you'll use the law of cosines. So it might help to draw yourself a triangle and just put the parts in. So there's A and B and C. Therefore, the sides are going to be A, B, and C across from their respective angles. So you don't know A or B. You know C is 108. And I'm writing really little so you probably can't see, huh? And A is 22. And B is 15. So you do have two sides and the angle in between those two sides. All right, so what we're going to do first, we're going to find this third side first. So we're going to start with c squared because that's the part we don't know. And now we're going to plug in what we do know. C squared equals the two sides squared, so 22 squared plus 15 squared. So I'm actually using this formula, but it will work if you just memorize one of them. It'll work if you remember, okay, put the unknown at the end and do the others. But if you need all three, that's fine too. So 22 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times the two sides that you know, so 22 and 15, times the cosine, and this does say cosine even though it's tiny, of the angle that you know. So 108. All right, so now it's simply a matter of solving it. So 22 squared, I wonder if I did that on my, I didn't do that on my thing. So what we're going to do is, oh, look, I did. Oh, no, I didn't. All right, so what you're going to do is, actually this one I didn't because you can just plug all of that into your calculator. So 22 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 22 times 15 times cosine 108. Don't forget you want to have this in degree measurement, and that'll be 30.2. So this side is 30.2. Don't forget when you get to the end after working all of this out, you're going to have to take the square root because this side is c squared. Okay, so don't forget that part. All right, next, now we've got C, so this is 30.2. Now we actually, you can either, let me see if I'm going to lie here, because in my notes I did, let's do one more time. You can either you can use the law of sines from this point because you have an angle and a side. But in my notes, I did it the other way just to show you another one, to show you the other direction. And let's do it that way. Know that if you like the law of sines at this point, because you have an angle and a side opposite that, you could use the law of sines from there. We'll do it that way here. But let's talk less and work more. What do you say? The next thing we're going to do is let's find angle A. So we're going to start with, if cosine of A is what we want, so let's use the formula that has cosine of A be what we don't know. So the side A is what we're going to set it equal to. So A is 22 squared equals B squared, which is 15, plus C squared, which is 30.2. Am I out of the way enough? Minus 2 times both of these. So 2 times 15 times 30.2 times the cosine of what we don't know, which is A. So you can still solve for this angle by multiplying, and this is going to be 484 equals, all of this multiplied and added together is 1,137.04 minus 906 cosine of A. All right, and that's this squared plus this squared is this, and then this time this is that. So then what you would do is subtract the 1137.04. Oops. All right, and so we end up with what? Negative 653.04, and that equals this. So you're going to divide by negative 906 to get the cosine of A by itself. So when you divide that, so negative 653.04 divided by negative 906, you get 0.72, and that equals the cosine of A. So to solve that, you would simply say, well, I want the inverse cosine of 0.72, and that equals what? 43.8, and that's A. All right? And you're saying, the law of sines is much easier. Yes. At this point, if you want to just use the law of sines for this step, once you have an angle and a side opposite each other, you can use the law of sines. Then what you would do to find the last angle, it's kind of anticlimactic. All you would do is take 180 minus 108 minus 43.8, and that gives you angle B, which is 28.2. Ta-da, done. No problem, right? Okay, so that is if you have one angle. So the same type of thing happens if you have three sides. You're actually going to end up with a problem like this first. So if you have three sides, here's a little hint. The first thing to do is first you're going to start with the longest side. If you start with the longest side, you know for sure that the other two, the angles opposite the other two sides, are going to be acute angles. So then when you're using the law of sines, you don't have to worry about which quadrant is this in? Is this obtuse or acute? So you know already. So make sure you start with the longest side. So we're going to start with C, which is 31. And we're simply going to put in 31 squared equals the two that you know, 19 squared plus 26 squared. And I just have it memorized. I'm using which one now? Because see, I'm using this one. But I don't know if you've noticed, I just use I just use what I know about what I know and what I don't know, instead of trying to memorize exactly the formula. So now I'm going to subtract from that 2 times the two sides that I know, the 19 and the 26, times the cosine of the angle that is opposite this. So this is the side C, so I want the cosine of C. Clear as mud? All right. So then I've figured some of these. You've probably done some of them in your calculator already. So this is 961 equals 361 plus 676 minus 988 cosine of C. So add these together. I don't know if I did that. Add them together and then subtract from this, and you end up with negative 76. So what I did was I added these together, and then it's 1,000 something. and subtract it from the 961, subtract it from both sides, minus this, gives you that. And so that equals the negative 988 cosine of C. So you're going to divide by negative 988. And that, when you divide it in your calculator, should be 0.08, and that equals cosine of C. So to find, well, what is C? You do inverse cosine. Don't forget to do second and then cosine of 0.08, and that's going to give you 85.6 degrees. So now angle C is 85.6 degrees. And now we can use the law of sines, which is what we probably should have done in the first problem. I'm making sure how far down can I go. Oh yeah, plenty of space. Here we go. So now let's use this. The angle is what we're going to want to know. So let's put the sine of 85 on top. Oh, not 8. Sine of 85.6 over 31. All right. And that's going to equal the sine of A over A, which is 19. And so now remember, to get this sine of A by itself, I'm going to multiply both sides by 19, just like we did in the previous section. And then use your calculator, take 19 times the sine of 85.6 divided by 31. And so the sine of A should equal, did I write that down somewhere? Oh, 0.61. So now take the inverse sine of 0.61, will give you 37.7. So A is 37.7. And then once you know two angles, use your lovely 180 degrees minus 37.7 minus 85.6 to give you a total of 56.7, and that is B. Whew-wee. So really and truly, using the law of cosines, it's not difficult. It is cumbersome, and there's a lot of parts and pieces. Keep your calculator handy. Keep it in degree mode, and they're long but not difficult. Not a long assignment today. See you soon.